So here's something I wanted to show you. It's rather curiosity. It's something at one level it sort of harkens back to the kilts of the past, and also it's something that's absolutely brand new. It's something I've never done before. The customer has asked for a kilt. This is his own tartan. We decided to pleat it to the stripe, so we have very many narrow pleats. I think there's 35 pleats there. But in a departure from my usual fitting, he likes the old high kilt, the kilt with a very high rise above the natural waist, and that's fine. That's what we'll do. So what I've done is, because I have my own measurement system, so I had to sit and think and sort of come up with come up with a plan, really, because normally this kilt, using my measurement system, this kilt would the top of this kilt would be here, but he wants that extra 2.5 inches. So what I've done is I've laid the kilt out as per my measuring system, but added the rise that he requested. So here we have our normal buckles and straps at where I would always put it, but I've added one buckle and one strap at the top, because this is going to be under tension, but this needs to be stabilized, and hence that buckle and strap. The other factor is, because normally I'm only cutting a kilt to here, I had to take an extra measurement, or at least to ask him to take a measurement, because he's in Alberta. He can't just pop around the corner for me to throw the measuring tape on him. So I'd asked him to measure his chest at the predicted top of the kilt, because of course we have the natural waist, but then we have the rib cage, so it's coming out again. And I think that's why in some military kilts, old military kilts, you will see this sort of flare here, where it's tapered, and then at the apron at least it's coming out a little bit, because although his measurement that he's given me for the top of the kilt, which is at about almost 5 inches above his natural waist, is the same measurement, it's still 37 inches. I have to allow for the fact that the numbers don't tell the whole story. And I have his picture and everything else, but what I've done is, on the inside, I have my wide canvas system rather than the narrow canvas system of the past. But I have it down here so that it's centered on the strap and buckle. We don't have canvas up here because we want that little bit of extra give, so that he doesn't feel like he's being constricted at the top of the kilt. So I have to admit, this is to an extent, this is a little bit of an experiment. So we're going to see how it goes when I send it to him, and we'll see how it fits him. Now, the other things that he's asked for, and I think it's quite attractive, he'd asked for a plain blue fringe. And fortunately, the wonderful people at William Booth Draper, and I'll include the link to them in the comments, were able to provide a fringe which contrasts very well. We sometimes see this on plain colored kilts. I believe, I'm going to say the London Scottish and maybe the Liverpool Scottish had that feature in the past. I'm not absolutely sure. He'd also asked for a blue top band. And again, William Booth came through. It's not an exact match, but I think each complements the kilt, and I think it's going to look very well. So my next stage is to put in a lining, which is going to be a bit of a challenge, because I've had to, it's just by chance, or it's just by luck, that I had a section of a piece of lining cloth that I hadn't torn into my usual strips of 5 inches and 10 inches respectively, because the lining is going to look, it's going to look different. It's going to be sewn into the canvas in the usual way, so that both raw edges are covered, or guarded like that. Now, because of this strip is so very narrow, it's only a 7/8 of an inch, I simply don't have it's simply not wide enough for me to sew it down and then sew the lining on top. So I'm going to bring the lining up to the top of the tartan and baste it in place, and then I'm going to sew the edge band down over top of it, like so. So there we go. I'm going to bash away at this, And if I'm lucky, I'll be able to do a follow-up video to this to show you when it's completed in a couple of hours. Thank you. Well, here we are again with the tall McFadden kilt. Now I've got the lining in. I would have preferred to put in a blue lining, but I didn't have enough. I had just about an inch too short, so I had to fall back on the green. It goes well with the tartan, but perhaps not so well with the top band. But there it is. It's only visible from the inside anyway. One point I didn't mention, well, actually, sorry, it's all sewn in place. Now, remember, normally when I sew a lining, I start at the top edge and around. Well, this lining hasn't been sewn at the top. It's the next stage is to fold the binding tape over and sew it along its length. One thing I hadn't mentioned in the last video, because I hadn't thought to do it until after I'd finished, was normally the canvas, the top edge of the canvas is at the top of the kilt, and sewing the top band will secure the upper edge of the canvas in place so it doesn't sag down inside. Well, that isn't the case here, because the canvas is a few inches down and it's centered on the straps and buckles of the natural waist. So what I've done is, you might be able to just see it there, there's a running stitch along the canvas which secures the canvas to the deep pleat of the apron, and that will prevent the canvas from bagging and sagging inside here. It wouldn't, if it were to do so, it wouldn't have any real negative effect as far as performance, because of course once the kilt is on, the canvas is stretched tight again. But it would look a bit unsightly if it was belling out, as it were. So that's sewn in place, so it'll stay in place. Now the next stage is to sew this top band down, give it one last inspection, and then put the label on, and then box it up and send it off to its new owner. So here we are, part 3 of this new / old kilt, in which I'm replicating an old design and appearance, but coming up with some new ways to do so. Now, as you remember, client wanted the old, very high-waisted kilt, so I've used my method of measuring, I've used my method of canvassing, and then I've added to the top. Instead of, and it's kind of funny actually, because instead of the old, what used to be the ubiquitous third buckle down low on the hip, we have a third buckle up high, and that's to control the mass above the tight point. On the inside, as I said, the customer had elected to go with a blue fringe, which I got from William Booth, the draper, as well as the top band. I think it looks very striking. This top band isn't very wide. It's only 7/8 of an inch wide, so consequently, again, the lining went in, and then I had to fold the very narrow band over top and sew it down. It actually kind of saves a bit of labor, and it's a sharp look, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it all the time. So there we go. I'm just going to give it the last once over. I'm going to sew the label on it, and then get it off to its new owner, and then wait for feedback, because this is something new. But here we go. Hope it fits him, and of course we won't be finished until both of us are happy. Thank you.